What's good, y'all? It's your man Sight, and today I'm gonna walk y'all through how I make drums on the MPC that smack, crack, knock your damn head off. So if you like this video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button down below, and make sure you comment below so I know what kind of videos you guys wanna see in the future. Appreciate y'all. Let's get into it. Let's get busy. All right, so we are back in the lab now. I'm gonna walk you through these three main steps that I use to get the drums to smack the way I want, right? Now, before I get started, I just wanna let you know there's really no replacement for investing in good sounds, especially drum sounds. So if you have a way to get your hands on some, I mean, definitely splice, things like that you can use. There's a lot of really good free drum kits. So a lot of these techniques are gonna really benefit if you have good sounds to start off with, but sometimes it's not possible. If you really need something to start with, on my website, iamsight.com, you can download a couple free drum kits that I have on there. Feel free to use those for these techniques. And you can also use what you already have stock in your MPC. With all that aside, the next step is gonna be a technique called stacking. And what stacking does is you layer drums on top of each other. And say for instance, if you have a snare that has a good mid-range, and then you have maybe a percussion sound that has a good top range, like a top end, you can actually stack those together or stack multiple snares together and kind of take advantage of the best features of each of those. The new MPCs are really good at this. They have a really good system of layering on the pads, and I'm going to walk you through that. All right, so just to show you the before and after, right? We have really basic kind of old school sounding kick drum and an old school kind of boom bap type snare. We're gonna take that kind of dated sounds and turn it into this. Much more updated, especially, if you playing back to back, you can hear. Real old school sounding and then updated. Much more smack to the sounds, a real good like frequency range on them. And I think, if you're looking to update your sound kits and, kind of get some new sounds, this is a good way to do it. So let's start with the kick. Now, as you can see, it's two layers. And what I did was took the original kick, lowered it just a little bit down about 65. You don't have to do this. It's just kind of where I ended up at the end. And then I added this 808 to it, which is called 808 Hissy. And I'll show you what that originally sounded like. It was originally a full-length 808. And it has a lot of bottom end, obviously, and has a little bit of top end, but most of it is low end. So you can just use kind of like a clean 808. I like to use these types of 808s underneath the kicks, just to kind of beef it up and add a little bit of that grit. Kind of a dirty sounding one. So what I did was I shortened it. All right, and I went to process over to fade out, and I basically just faded it out at the end, so it looks something like that. So it's shorter, just like a normal kick sound would be. All right. And I actually saved it as a new one, which was this 808 Hissy one. And then went into program edit and tapped on the sample tab, which you'll see. Normally this is the screen you'll see. Tap samples again and you'll get the layers, right? So I went ahead and added that 808 Hissy. Where'd my kick go? There we go. And it wasn't that easy the first time I did it. I actually had to go into the filter area and down here, turn on the amp envelope, and I had adjusted a little while. So originally it sounded kind of long. I didn't really like, it still sounded pretty long. So I brought down the sustain Cut the decay just a little bit. And that made it a little more punchy where it's not drawn out. So you can use it as a kick and not as an 808. So you still have kind of like that beef in the beginning of the kick. Pause. You still have that beefy kick sound in the beginning. You don't have to worry about using a bass line underneath it. It's not going to interrupt it too much, all right? So I like kicks like that a lot that kind of have a good top end and a good bottom end. So that's just a quick way to do it. All of this is experimenting. There's no one set way. You can't really memorize numbers or anything like that. You have to just kind of go in there and tweak and find what you like, all right? But kicks are usually a little bit easier because, again, you're just going with a top end and a bottom end. You can use more layers if you want to get fancy, but kicks, in my opinion, are normally pretty simple. Snares, on the other hand, that's a whole nother story. All right, so this one, remember the original snare, very old school sounding. So what I did was I kept the original. I'm just going on the program edit screen here. Kept the original snare. That's this 009 BRG snare up here. And I'll turn all these other ones down. I pitched it up about 6 semitones. Now, a lot of kind of trap drums and modern snares, they're usually pitched up quite a bit. So if you want to kind of bring your drums a little more modern, a good way is to start by pitching them up. All right. So I pitched that up about 6. Then I added the second one. The second snare on top of it. Without it. With it. And this one just kind of is actually a snap. So it's very subtle, but it adds a little bit of texture in there. All right, then I added this third one. Just, let's see. It's like a knock type of sound. Almost like a bongo. And then the fourth one, I guess it's like a high bongo or maybe like a rim shot type of sound with some reverb on it. And you add them all together. And if you don't like the reverb on there, you can take that sound out. I personally like it though. Now, another little technique I added on there just to kind of make the snare sound wider was 2 of the sounds I actually panned. So if you hit the next tab over from your samples tab and program edit, hit this pan velocity, you can actually change the panning on it. So I made the kind of rim shot sounding one sound a little bit to the left, and then the snap I made a little bit to the right. So just kind of gives it a little more of a stereo feel and makes the snare sound a little bit fuller. But I kept the main sound right in the middle. Boom. So that's stacking in a nutshell. I'll probably do something a little more detailed, showing some more of my stacking workflows, but this is just a quick way you can do it. Real quick, guys, I just wanted to let you know, if you're feeling this video, please do me a huge favor. Hit that like button down below. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. And make sure to leave me a comment down below with any questions you have about this particular video or any videos you might want to hear about in the future, all right? Let's get back to it. All right, so another quick tip you can use to get your drums to smack is what I call a light clip. Now, a light clip is once you have your stacked sound, right? Or once you just have a sound that you like, and it's not really that loud, right? So say, for instance, this one, say we want to flatten it to a pad. So you can hit the flatten button up here. Make the screen bigger for you. So we like the way this kick sounds, for instance, right? We can hit that flatten button up top, give it a new name. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to copy it. I'm going to copy this pad. So hit the copy button, choose a pad you want it to go to. I'll put it on the 802 pad. So now I have the same exact stack on A2, and now I'm going to flatten it, and we're going to call it Flat Kick 2. Okay, and what that did was it reset all the parameters. It took that whole stack and merged it into one sample. So now that I have that and I like the way it sounds, but I want it to punch a little more, you can do this technique, which is called a soft clip or a light clip. Now with a light clip, you take a kick that is kind of almost maxed out or close to the top. Sometimes you have to normalize the kick to kind of bring it close to the edges here, but this one's already pretty loud, so it's in the right space. And this was actually lightly clipped already. You can see, if you zoom in, you can see the edges at the top left are kind of squared off. So it sounds pretty good, but sometimes you'll have a kick that doesn't have any of that, and it's pretty much it's just really round. And what you could do to add a little bit of grit to it is go to Process, Gain Change, and add 1 or 2 decibels of gain. And what that'll do is kind of mash it just a little bit, create a little bit of distortion, and you can hear the difference. It's subtle, but it just sounds a little bit dirtier. Decap, I don't know if you guys heard of Drums That Knock. He uses that same type of technique as well, I found out. He kind of gives it a soft digital clip. I don't do it quite as much as him, but I do like just a little bit of it just to make the drums sound louder in the mix. All right, so the last tip I'm going to give you guys today is going to be compression. That can really make your drums stand out in the mix. Now, we already have some pretty good sounding drums here. I mean, they smack because we did the stacking technique, and they sound pretty good. But if you had drums that still weren't that, weren't standing out the way you wanted, or you just, you didn't stack and you just had a regular drum that you loaded up on your pads and you really wanted to stand out, compression's a really good technique to get it to pop in the mix. All right, so we'll start here with the kick. Now, getting compression going in the MPC is really simple. You just basically go to your main screen. This is one way to do it. There's actually a couple ways to get to this, but simplest way I can recommend is here on the little eyeball, click that. You'll get your mixer for the program channel. Make sure you hit this square over here and not the 4 squares, and that'll add it for the individual pads. All right. Now, my kick is on A01. Let's go ahead and add a compression on that. Air compressor, and hit the pencil so you can edit it. Now you can hear before and after. Really smashed against the roof, kind of an ugly sound. Some people like that, but I'll usually bring a couple levels down. I'll bring the output down to about maybe 9. Ratio down to about 2.5 to 3. Let's call it 2.7. Let's hear that before and after. And it kind of squashes everything and gives it a little more perception of volume, right? So that's what that reduction is at the top. It's actually squashing the signal, and you don't want that to be too long, that reduction, because if that meter's too far, that means you're really squashing the signal and you're kind of getting rid of any dynamics that the sound has. So usually between 2 and 3 ratio works well. Same thing for the snare. Let's add it on the snare. Now this snare is really snappy already. I probably, be honest with you, there's no way I would put compression on this because I really like the way it sounds already. But just for the sake of showing you guys, I'll add it on there now. And the MPC has quite a few compressors. You don't have to use the air compressor. I just think the interface is the easiest because it has the meters, but there are other compressors you can use under the Akai Professional. You can use the older ones like Compressor Master, Opto, VCA, and Vintage. All right, so those are an option, but I really like the air one. And before and after. As you can see, it's pretty loud once again. I don't mind the ratio being around 3, but let's bring that output down. And that's really going to make the snare pop out of the mix. Honestly, I think it makes the snare sound a little too thin. I would probably keep it uncompressed, but just letting you know, some sounds sound better with compression. Sometimes you have a snare that doesn't have a whole lot of, pop to it, and this is just a good way to bring the transients out of the snare. So I probably wouldn't squash this one. I wouldn't use the compressor, but you're free to use it how you like. So that wraps up how I get my drums to smack, crack, knock your damn head off in the MPC. If you guys have any other questions or any other tips, leave them in the comment section down below. Shout out to everybody who's been showing support, man. I really appreciate y'all, my whole MPC gang out there. Make sure to check us out on Facebook, MPC Gang. Just look us up, we'll pop right up. And if you want more information on the merch, you can check it out on my site, iamsite.com. We got the hats, we got the hoodies, the t-shirts, pretty much anything for MPC users if you're looking to rep MPC Gang, all right? Appreciate y'all tuning in. I'm out. Peace.